In a rust-red valley on a distant world, there lived a young man named Leo, who was known by all as the mechanic's son because his parent had spent a lifetime repairing crawler rigs and sky skiffs for the scattered clans, and Leo had grown with grease on his hands and music in his breath, for when the great warrior dragons slept in their basalt roosts, he would hum gentle lullabies that drifted across the heated stones and soothed their ancient minds. While the wind carried those soft notes through iron spires and crystal vents, and though Leo never knew it, each tone aligned with patterns older than the stars in each melody, touched threads of an ancient prophecy that had been whispered by seers long before any living memory. The dragons of that world were not beasts alone, but guardians of a fragile balance between flame and frost, between metal and life, and they were bound by oaths to defend the clans from void raiders who came in dark vessels seeking to harvest the rare energies of dragon hearts. Yet in recent cycles, the raiders had grown bold, and their shadows crossed the sky with more frequency than ever before, so the dragons trained daily, breathing plasma arcs into the heavens, and the clans sharpened their spears and tuned their cannons, while Leo worked in a small workshop beside his parent, repairing cracked wing plates and adjusting thruster rings on the younger drakes, always humming softly to calm them as sparks flew and gears turned among the dragons. There was one called Aaron, who had scales like moonlit steel and eyes that held both sorrow and hope, and Aaron often lowered his massive head to listen when Leo sang, because the young man carried a warmth that even dragonfire could not match, and through those quiet moments Aaron felt the stir of forgotten dreams of a time when dragons and humans spoke as equals before war had broken their bond, and though Aaron could not voice it, he sensed that Leo was more than a simple mechanic's son, that something in his spirit resonated with the deep harmonic of the world itself. One evening, as twin suns dipped below the jagged horizon, a tremor shook the valley, and a distant horn wailed a signal that the void raiders had returned in force. The clans scrambled to their stations, and the dragons took to the air, forming a blazing shield against the incoming swarm of dark ships that spat beams of cold light, while Leo stood frozen in the workshop, watching the sky ignite with streaks of fire and metal until a wounded dragon crashed nearby, sending a shockwave through the ground and calling him to act. Without thinking, he ran to the fallen giant and began to hum a steady tune while applying emergency welds to a torn wing plate, his voice cutting through the roar of battle like a thread of calm, and the dragon slowly steadied, lifting again to rejoin the fight. As the clash intensified, Aaron flew low over the workshop and dropped a strange crystalline shard at Leo's feet, then roared a warning that echoed with urgency. Leo picked up the shard and felt a pulse of energy that matched the rhythm of his own heart, and without understanding why, he pressed it to his chest and began to hum louder, the melody shifting as if guided by unseen hands. The sound resonated through the valley and into the skies, weaving with the roars of dragons and the hum of engines, creating a powerful wave that disrupted the raider ships, causing their formations to falter high above the valley. Ancient constructs hidden within the clouds awakened to the song, for they had been built by a long vanished civilization to respond to the prophecy of a voice that could unite dragon and human, and now they unleashed beams of light that tore through the raider fleet, scattering them like leaves before a storm. The dragons pressed their advantage, driving invaders back into the void, and when the last enemy ship vanished, the sky fell silent except for the fading echoes of Leo's song. Exhausted and shaken, Leo looked around to see dragons circling overhead and clan warriors staring in awe. Aaron landed before him and lowered his head in a gesture of respect, and in that moment, Leo realized that his simple lullabies were not mere tunes, but keys that unlocked ancient power, and that his life as a mechanic's son had prepared him for a destiny far greater than he had ever imagined. In the days that followed, elders of the clans and wise dragons gathered to speak of the prophecy which told of a humble voice that would rise in a time of great peril to restore harmony between worlds, and they saw in Leo the fulfillment of those words, though he remained humble, insisting that he only sang to comfort his friends. Yet he could not deny the truth of what had happened, so he began to train with the dragons, learning to refine his melodies into tools of healing and defense. While still helping his parent in the workshop, grounding his new role in the simple joys of mending and creation, Leo discovered that each dragon responded to a different tone, and that by blending these sounds, he could create powerful harmonies that repaired damaged scales, soothed raging minds, and even strengthened the protective fields around their roosts. And as his skill grew, so did the bond between dragons and humans. The clans began to sing with him during their work, and soon the valley was filled with music that made the air itself shimmer. Aaron became Leo's closest companion, often sharing silent flights over the valley where Leo would hum and the dragon would glide through currents of warm air. And during one such flight, Aaron revealed through gentle nudges and shared visions that the Void Raiders would return in even greater numbers, seeking revenge and the power they had glimpsed. So Leo knew that he must prepare not only himself, but all who lived in the valley. Together with the clans, he built resonant towers tuned to his melodies, and with the dragons, he practiced complex harmonies that could amplify their fire into shields and beams of light. And though fear lingered, it was tempered by hope for the first time in many cycles. Humans and dragons worked as one, united by a common purpose and a shared song. When the raiders finally came again, their armada filled the sky like a storm of black wings, but this time they were met not only by dragon fire and clan weapons, but by a symphony of voices that surged from the valley. Leo stood at the center, humming with all his heart, his voice carrying through the towers and into every dragon and warrior, and the resulting wave of sound shattered enemy shields, disrupted their weapons, and left them vulnerable to the combined might of those who defended the world. The battle was fierce and long, yet in the end the raiders were driven away for good, their fleet broken by the harmony of a united people. And as the skies cleared, Leo felt a deep peace settle within him, knowing that the prophecy had been fulfilled, not by a single hero alone, but by the bonds he had helped forge in the quiet that followed. Leo returned to his workshop, where he continued to repair wings and engines, humming softly as always, for though his destiny had been revealed, he remained at heart the mechanic's son who loved to care for those around him. And as Aaron rested nearby and the clans rebuilt their homes, the lullabies of a humble young man carried on the wind a reminder that even the smallest voice can shape the fate of worlds.